want to say provide them, would it make a difference? Provide them with high.
We have the difficulties. Effective support at the ministerial levels, if there's possible in areas of curriculum assessment revision.
All right, members of the press, I'm sure you can see exactly what's going on. But I do apologize for the delay. Mr. Gist is trying to get his presentation ready, which really contains a lot of the important information that we need to understand the results.
Okay, this is the problem.
Ben, what happened to you?
Secretary, we will share with you the PowerPoint presentation after the ceremony. So without further ado, I wish to welcome you here.
Okay.
All right. I wish to welcome the members of the press and officially hand you over to the Chief Education Officer, Mrs. Melina Fontaine.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. That was just a little bit of Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong at the worst possible time, but you deal with it accordingly. So we have dealt with it. At this time, let me begin by acknowledging the presence of the Honorable Minister for Education and Human Resource Development, Mr. Peter Sejean, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education and Human Resource Development, Mrs. Chandler Hyacinth, and Senior Administrative Officer, Ms. Giselle Olport, Assistant Chief Education Officer, Dr. Jeffrey Blaise, Senior Education Officer for Curriculum and Measurement and Evaluation, Mr. Robert Gist, and other senior officials here with us today. Education Officer with Direct Responsibility for Measurement and Evaluation, Mrs. Candia Robinson, District Education Officers, Learning Support Advisors, Curriculum Officers, members of the media, and other invited guests. Good afternoon, everyone. A pleasant good afternoon also to our listening public via DBS and Kyrie FM, GIS and OPL. It is my pleasure to welcome everyone to this press conference, during which we will share the much awaited results from the Grade 6 National Assessment 2019, which was administered at the end of May. I first want to say congratulations to all the students who did their best on the examinations and will be moving on to secondary school. Congratulations to the principals, teachers, and students who continue to work tirelessly to ensure that our students are always prepared for the next level. This year, 835 students, 532 girls, and 526 boys where did I get what you gave me there? Sorry, too many papers. Okay, this year, 835 students, 441 girls, and 394 boys sat the examinations. In a little while, you will hear from Mr. Robert Gist, Senior Education Officer for Curriculum and Measurement and Evaluation Unit, and he will be presenting the data and some analysis from the examinations. You will be also hearing from the Honorable Minister for Education and Human Resource Development, who will release the names of the top 5 performers, as well as the schools that have the majority of their students scoring more than 15 points above the mean. There are 12 of them in that category. Please note that when we release the names of the top performing schools, it is meant for celebrating the success of those schools, where the majority of the students are doing well. You will also note that success is not dependent on school size, class size, location, or type of school. In that list, you will find public, government-assisted, and private schools. Some are in the rural areas, or as we say, in the country, and some in the urban areas, as we say, in Roseau or Portsmouth. You will also find schools with small student population, like 2, and those with large student populations, like 90 students. You will also find those with both large and small class sizes. What is important to note is that effort determines success. And in these schools, you will find that a lot of effort is put into the welfare of the students and in instruction. You will also find parental support is strong in those schools. We want to encourage all of them to continue putting in the effort. We congratulate all the students who excelled with their parents, principals, and teachers who provided them with the much needed support. An analysis of the data shows that schools with significant levels of underachievement must make an effort to boost their literacy levels, as this affects performance in all other subject areas. Although we have seen a decrease in the number of students who are receiving D's and E's, and again, Mr. Gist will be presenting you with some of the data, we expect all schools to continue the effort to increase performance. The schools with significant underachievement will be expected to review and revise the literacy component of their school development plans so that they can give focused attention to that area in the new academic year starting in September. This must be done for the performance of their students to change. After receiving their report, they will know who they are. I would hope that they will take a whole school approach to address this situation, starting with an internal school review. To all the students who are moving on to secondary schools, I urge them to take it seriously and give it their best effort from the first day that they enter. Keep up the effort always, and it will pay off in the end. Recently, in a number of speeches from various speakers, we have heard parents being challenged to take up their responsibilities. We cannot stop doing that because you parents should be the most important people in the lives of your children. We at the Ministry of Education and Human Resource Development continue to ask you to help provide the environment for your children to succeed. The schools cannot do it alone. We need you to work hand in hand with us. Your children will be home with you soon for almost 2 months of vacation. Allow them to enjoy some time away from school, but get them engaged in meaningful activities and experiences that will prepare them for the new school year. Ensure that they read continuously, read with them, and listen to them read. As your children move to secondary school, be there for them. Give them constant supervision and help them all to successfully complete their secondary education in the next 5 years. With these words, I once again welcome everyone, and I now ask Mr. Robert Gist to give his presentation on the Grade 6 National Assessment for 2019.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am not going to do any to move to the Okay, good afternoon. I'm not going to do all the welcomes again because Ms. Fountain has already done that. So I'll go straight into the analysis of the results. But before I jump into anything, in terms of the results and the analysis, we have moved to the Grade 6 National Assessment for about 14 years now. And I am not sure if we have actually taken enough time or if we have taken any time to explain to the general public the process. Because up to this morning, I am still hearing some comments from the general public and even some teachers as to things that they think happened with the Grade 6 National Assessment results. So I'll just spend a little time just to talk about that first of all. But before I do that, I would like to thank everybody involved in the development, administration, and scoring of the national assessment. And I must point out some of the officers there. Ms. Lidlow, she is one of those who assist on developing the mathematics exam. Mr. Samuel Owai, the science officer, he is responsible for assisting in the science examination. Mrs. Badwill for language arts, Mr. Lawrence for social studies. So it is not a matter of Ms. Robinson and Mr. G sitting in an office and developing the exams. Now, even before these officers get involved, the items are actually submitted by teachers. So we call in teachers from the different schools, different districts. They come in, they write items for the exam. We create a pool, and from that pool, we select 60 items for mathematics and language arts, 50 for science and social studies. That is, we take those items from a pool of over 200 questions. These are developed and piloted with former grade 6 students at different schools in the different districts. So it is not just piloted in Roseau schools, it is piloted in each of the districts. This pilot test is analyzed. We get rid or discard or modify questions that give too much difficulty. So if we find less than 20% of the students are able to answer a question, this question is discarded. Likewise, if we find questions that all the students answer, it is either modified or discarded. We don't want the exam to be too difficult. We don't want the exam to be too easy, because it is an exam where we want to select the scholar students. We want to separate the different levels of the students. All right? Now, once these exams are administered, the four multiple choice papers are scanned. We use an optical map reader to scan the papers. During that process, we don't see the names of students. We don't see the schools that the students represent. All we see is a number. This. Oh. This is all we see. So we have no idea which students score which question. All right? This is the information that we put in. We tell the scanner there are 60 questions, 5 options. Okay, no, sorry. 60 questions. This 5, we have 5 characters representing student information. So if you see here, and we say there are 4 options. These are the answers. These are 4 options. And we tell it accept every question. Except, as you see in this case, where we have an N. When we reviewed, we saw there was a problem with the question. So we told the computer to reject that answer, that particular question. So instead of being over 60, it will be over 59. Because this, in that particular case, one question, there were 2 correct answers. So we could not accept it. All right? Good. 3401, that's the candidate number. And that student is a male student. The rest are the answers. Now, when this is done, it is stored somewhere, and we mark the composition papers. That's where the students have to write on a specific topic. These papers are marked twice, in some cases 3 or 4 times. All right? I will come to some additional information as to what we do before we produce the results for students. Now, even again, before we give the final results of the students, we get this printout. Now, that printout tells us the question number, the percentage of students who scored that item correctly. It also gives us a point Ministerial, which tells us that in this case, where it's 53, it says the brighter students, more of the brighter students got that particular question correctly than the slower students. In this case, we also get this, for item number 10, the program will tell us, check the answer that you recommended for this one. It says we get A, but B works better. So we look at option A. We saw 46% of the students got that question correctly. and 41% chose B. Why does it say B works better? Because the point Ministerial, it shows that more of the slower students got that question correctly than the brighter students. So it might be that the question was tricky. When we looked at it, there was no problem with the question, so we kept it. Same thing with this one. In this one, 30% got it correct, 24% got it, 24% got it, or chose D, and 30% chose incorrect answer. So it's saying more students chose an incorrect answer, so we look at it to see if there was a problem with it. Now, there are other things we do before we present the results, but we'll come to that as we go along. So, as Ms. Fountain said, let's move back here. Right, as Ms. Fountain said, we have 835 students taking the exams this year, 441 boys, 394 girls. And as you can see, the district, the Western District, more than half the students, more than half the number of students came from the Western District. Now, again, coming back to where we were in analyzing the results. Again, we don't just take the first answer that we get or the first scores that we get. We check for errors in the responses. So, for example, in this case, we run a scatter graph of the language arts paper 1 versus the mathematics paper 1. What we expect in an exam, a student who scores very high in language arts, we expect them to score high in the other subjects. In this case, we compare it to the mathematics. What we are seeing is that the child scored 57 in mathematics, but only about 5 in language arts. So we knew right away that was a problem. The same thing here. The child scored 52 in language arts, but only about 7 in mathematics. What do we do about that? We cannot just accept that. We pull out that student. This will tell us exactly the candidate number, not the name of the student. It will tell us what candidate number. We go back to the child's paper, the raw score that I showed you. Right. And can you spot the error already? Remember I told you when we get that printout, the first 4 digits, the first 4 characters are the student demographic information, the candidate number and the sex. In this case, there was no number. So what the computer reads is 1363 male or female, well, male. 1363 male. So that means those 5 characters, we have, from the first 5 characters, we have 3 of them representing the student's response. And because of that, instead of that being question number 1, this would be question number 1. And 2 and 3 and so on. And then question 57, 58, 59, 60, they have nothing for that. So what we do, we scan the papers again, we look for those 1363, and we put in the 1363. Once we do that, it is scanned and we will get the correct score for the student. And we also mark that paper by hand. Okay, and then that brings us to the scores for the students. So once we have done all error checking, make sure that every student who did the exam is accounted for, and all the papers we have eliminated all errors, corrected all errors. We begin to do the analysis. So for this year, we found that the mean scores in each area as follows. Language arts overall mean was 38.1. Language arts 2, which is the composition, 25.7. Mathematics, 36.78, social studies, 28.3, and science, 30.91. As we can see, that is a slight decline from the previous year, when it was 38.2, 25.38, 37.84, 30.6, and 32.73. So there was a slight decline in performance. In terms of the district, we see that in the northern and southern district in language arts paper 1, the performance actually improved a bit. And again, the western district is usually, well, in this case, the western district and the northern district perform equally well in terms of language arts. But almost all throughout the papers, we see that the western district generally outperform the other districts. Right, now this graph shows the point totals of students at the grade 6 national assessment. Now, I want you to focus on this graph a little bit. One of the comments I heard this morning was that the results take a long time to come out because the ministers have to go through the results and decide who they give scholarship. That could not be further from the truth. In fact, the minister is there right now, and he will tell you that they never get the results before. They have no idea. Before we send the results to them, before we send the results to them, which is the same day that everybody else gets the results. What's that? Yes. So we do something like that. All the results are going to fall something like that. This is what we call the normal curve. And every year, I don't know how the minister or the prime minister or anybody else is going to change it. Every year, we have the results are going to follow a normal curve. And this little portion here will be the students getting the scholarships and the bursaries. This will be the average scores. And this little piece right there are the students who are going to receive D's and E's. And every year it is going to be about the same thing. So that will be between 17 to 20%. So no, the ministers do not decide who gets scholarship. Only the students decide who gets scholarships and who gets the E's. Not even the teachers, not even Robert Gies, not even Candy Robinson. Only the students can decide where they fall in that. Okay, now in this graph, we're looking at the point totals of the students at the 2019 grade 6 national assessment. What we see here is that the girls outperform the boys. So if we look at both of them on the lower end, we have more boys scoring low scores. And then when we get to the average point, the girls begin outperforming the boys. So the girls always have the highest scores than the boys. And this is something that has been happening for years. Okay? So we see the girls get more of the scholarships, more of the bursaries than the boys. The girls get on average higher scores than the boys. In terms of the mark distribution of scores, it's the same thing. The distribution of grades. So we have the A's, we have the girls getting more of the A's and B's and even C's than the boys. The gap is smallest in that area here. There it begins to open out again the other way. The boys begin to get more D's and E's than the girls. Again, here's the distribution of the math scores. So we have 90 plus students scoring 45 out of 60 and so on. So if you look at the graph, and this, like as Dion said, will be sent to you all so you can do some further analysis if you want. But this is the distribution of the mathematics scores. The language scores is the same thing again. The girls continue to outperform the boys at all levels. The D's and the E's, the boys get more of those. The A's and the B's, the girls get more of those. Even the C's, the boys, the girls get more of those. Again, here's the same information. And for the language arts total score, it is the language arts paper 1, the multiple choice, the 60-item multiple choice, and the composition, which is worth 40%. So the language paper is actually the only paper that is marked over 100. In terms of students scoring less than 40% on every paper, we see that is our students are not doing too poorly on this one. In almost every case, especially the language, which is what we like because we know it shows that our students are able to read and comprehend, less than 10% of the students score under 40% in language arts and the paper 1 and the composition. About 16% score less than 40% in mathematics, science 16, social studies 10, 11% of the students scoring less than 40%. And when we show that information, we see in terms of those scoring less than 40%, we have the boys again in every area. The girls score better than the boys. So this is, we would like to see it balance off. So the fathers be the role models at home, and remember that the school only has the children for 5 hours a day, which leaves 19 hours for you to do what you should with your children. The strong performance, we see a flip. The girls are doing better in every area than the boys in terms of the strong performances. Now, here we have a scatter plot which shows the relationship between school size and performance. And as you can see on this graph, there is no direct relationship between school size and performance. Because when you look at this school here, which has about 90 students, we see that they are performing well above the national mean. More than a standard deviation above the mean. We have a small school with about 8 students that perform the best on the island. Okay? This is the best score. We also have small schools with what? 2 students being right up there in terms of performance. And we have small schools being at the bottom of the list. So we have small schools underperforming, small schools performing. We have large schools underperforming and large schools performing above the national average. This is the national average. This red line represents the national average. Again, what I just said, the result is that there's no direct relationship between school size and performance. Some small schools outperform the larger schools, and some large schools outperform the small schools. Now with that, I will hand over to our chair to, yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Gist. You will hold your questions after the minister speaks. So at this time, I would like to invite the Honorable Minister for Education and Human Resource Development, Mr. Peter Sejean, to deliver his remarks.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Fontaine. Let me recognize the presence of the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education and Human Resource Development, Mrs. Hyacinth
Chief Education Officer, Mrs. Fontaine, Dr. Blaise, Assistant Chief, and other senior officials of the Ministry of Education and Human Resource Development. I want also to recognize those of you representing the various media houses here this afternoon, members of the listening and viewing public. Pleasant good afternoon to all. First of all, I would like to extend congratulations to the students who sat the 2019 Grade 6 National Assessment and excelled. I congratulate also the students who topped the examinations. They have done well and deserve every commendation for their hard work, which has placed them at the top of this year's rankings. Commendations are also in order for the schools which emerged at the top of this year's table. Undoubtedly, this was due to the hard work of not only the students, but their dedicated teachers, parents, and the wider communities. The Ministry of Education is of the view that successful students are made not only in the classroom, but also in the homes and communities. So the contribution of stakeholders to the success of our students must be commended. Again, this year's results, we have noticed a disparity in the performance of our boys and girls. This, my friends, continue to be extremely worrying, as our goal is to give our males the same opportunities for academic success as are available to our girls. I believe that it is incumbent upon us to find ways as an education system, as a nation, to narrow the gap between the performance levels of boys and girls. Over the past years, we have undertaken various interventions to increase performance levels, and further attempts will be made to identify the challenges that our boys face, providing them with high-quality teaching to address their difficulties and give effective support at the ministry level as early as possible in areas of curriculum, assessment, leadership, and management. Indeed, we have taken specific steps towards that with the 3-year OECS education support program funded by the Global Partnership in Education. The program built capacity in the areas of leadership, professional development, monitoring and evaluation, and curriculum. It is our hope that the training provided to teachers and principals under this professional development component will arm them with additional skills to improve learning outcomes within our classrooms. It is my view that we must address urgently the teaching and learning of mathematics and English, and improve our boys' attitudes to and confidence in reading and writing. Clearly, our boys continue to be at risk, and as such, I want to make this special appeal to call on parents and indeed the wider community to provide more support and encouragement to our boys. I believe that within the homes, our boys need more attention, more one-on-one assistance with their schoolwork, and indeed more emotional support so that they can reach their full potential. For our part, the Ministry of Education will continue to train our teachers to respond to the challenges of fashioning instruction that can reach our boys and trigger their interest in learning. The key, I believe, is to harness boys' strengths in order to obtain their best results. If boys are constantly subjected to disapproval for their interest and enthusiasm, they are likely to become disengaged and lag further behind. Our schools need to work with, not against, the imaginations, creativity, and interest of our boys to move them towards becoming educated, participatory young men within our communities. I also wish to reiterate the importance of reading skills to the long-term academic achievement. It must be noted that students who read well after 3 years of primary education do well at the grade 6 national assessment. And of course, the reverse is also correct. Again, I make this appeal to parents to encourage students to read from the earliest levels. It is never too early to read. They must be read to at home on a regular basis so as to provide early stimulation that will serve them as they move through the school system. Within the Ministry of Education, we are committed to the government's resolve to improve education quality from the early childhood level, the formative years, through primary school and on to the secondary and tertiary levels. Such a strategic focus has meant an examination of the trends and patterns observed in both internal and external examinations during the past years, and more so, the trends that apply to education and development in the 21st century. This awareness is clear through our policies: universal access to early childhood education, universal secondary education, and most recently, the pronouncement regarding tuition-free access to tertiary education at the Dominica State College. we have created full access at all levels of the system. And so the focus now must be on strengthening our system and providing all learners the best opportunity to succeed. I remain confident that performance in the education system is on an upward trend as all our interventions and programs are beginning to produce the desired outcomes. We will continue to monitor students' performance and identify areas that require additional support to ensure effective learning. I wish to encourage our school administrators, students, and parents to keep building on our gains as we strive to increase the performance levels of our students. While on this note, it is my pleasure to announce the names of the top performers in the 2019 Grade 6 National Assessment. And just to further strengthen the point that was made by Mr. Gist, every minister of government, I suppose, is now glued to his radio, or maybe his telephone. We only gave the results the day that we are announcing them to the Honorable Prime Minister and the President of the Commonwealth of Dominica. My colleague ministers shall receive theirs this afternoon if they're in Roseau, or tomorrow morning. So you are finding out together with them. This year's top performers in the Grade 6 National Assessments are as follows. Kira Gardier, I hope I have the pronunciation correct. Kira Gardier, St. Martin Primary, and that is a female, with 4 A's, A in language, mathematics, social studies, and science. Shante Avril, Ebenezer Primary, again a female, 4 A's. Kobe Daru, female, Convent Preparatory, 4 A's. Kamal Peter, a male, Convent Preparatory, 4 A's. And Janae Lawrence, female, St. Martin's Primary, 4 A's. So the top performers, we have 4 females and 1 male. The top performing schools in this year's examinations, we have the Pioneer Preparatory School, Lighthouse Christian Academy, the Christian Union Primary, Convent Preparatory, Delis Primary School, Penville Primary, Dublin Primary, Warner Primary, Berean Christian Academy, St. Martin Primary, Bells Primary, and Clifton Primary. And as was noted again, we see a mix of large, small, and very small schools. So school size does not determine the performance. As I end, I wish to once again congratulate the students who performed well in this year's assessments. Commendations are also due to the teachers and parents who assisted these students in preparing for the examinations. The Ministry of Education will fulfill its end of the bargain to provide students with the requisite support. And as I say this, I should like to advise that this year, the government of Dominica, through the Ministry of Education, shall continue to provide scholarships and bursary benefits, as well as assistance through our textbook provision scheme, transportation and uniform assistance, and other assistance through the Education Trust Fund. I should like to inform the listening public that the Cabinet of the Commonwealth of Dominica, cognizant of the ever-increasing cost of textbooks and materials associated for the education of our children, the Cabinet has taken a decision to increase the value of the textbook awards to scholarship and bursaries, or to scholars and bursars of secondary schools and the Dominica State College, effective the new school year 2019-2020, and that will take effect as of September 2019. I should like to give you some detailed information as to the increases that Cabinet has approved. In the past, a student who received a scholarship received $500. That has been increased to $1,000 from Forms 1 to Form 3. That is for the provision of textbooks. So the value of $1,000. And I need to be very careful here that a student may not receive the full $1,000 based on the value, the quantum of books that would have to be purchased. The bursars will receive from $300, that has been increased to a value of $700. At the fourth form level, the scholarship has been increased to $1,700, a value of $1,700. And bursars at the fourth form level, $1,200. And at the fifth form level, since most of the books used at fourth form are also used in fifth form, an additional value of $300. And in both the cases of the scholars and the bursars, the CXC fees will continue to be paid. At the Dominica State College, the annual book and stationery amount has been increased from $600 to $1,200. And the transportation has been increased from $500 to $1,000, giving a value of $2,200 to the students at the Dominica State College. Again, ladies and gentlemen, members of the listening public, may I say to you that we understand the situation that confronts our families around the island, and this administration will continue to give support where support is needed. I want to call on parents, members of the public, to ensure that we give the necessary support and scaffolding to our students in order to allow them to succeed and to build for us an economy that will survive well beyond the 21st century. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. At this time, we are going to open the floor to any questions you may have had. So the floor is now open. If you have no questions, the minister has given us some good news. I know schools are happy, and I know students are happy, and I know parents are very happy. So if you don't have any questions, we'll wrap it up. I want to say thank you to all the members of the media who are here, getting the information and putting it out there to our listening and viewing public. So once again, thank you, Honorable Minister, and all the Ministry of Education officials who are here. Until next time. Yes. Go and do the part.
Albert.